All right, let's turn our attention to the draft, but more specifically, cornerbacks. Here's a list of CB selected in the top 10 in the past 3 NFL drafts. It all started with Jeff Okudah and C.J. Henderson in 20, but then you take a look at Horn and Surtain in 21. They've been great, trying to stay healthy, and then this past draft, Derek Stingley Jr., and we know what Sauce Gardner did, first team All-Pro honors with the Jets in his very first year. All right, Rick Spielman back with us here, and we welcome in R-Dub, Ryan Wilson, the With the First Pick podcast crew, reunited, gents. And does it feel so good? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's stick with that quarterback theme. There's been a big push, especially in the top 10. Rick, I'll start with you because you've been in this position before. Usually it's like you take a quarterback that high if that's the last piece for the defense, but in some instances we're kind of seeing it go in the other direction. What do you make of what we've seen over the last 3 years or so?
Yeah, if there's a corner out there that can cover, and how you're seeing these receivers nowadays, you're going to draft a corner. Hey, I got to cover Justin Jefferson. I got to cover CeeDee Lamb. I got to cover A.J. Brown. There's so many great receivers in the league right now that teams are not only going to look for corners, pass rushers, but the corner position is becoming more and more valuable, and also depending on the schemes that they're going to fit. But I think this year, and we'll get into it a little bit, there's a lot of big athletic corners that can play man coverage and match up on the outside versus some of these big type receivers.
No, that's right, Rick. And we saw last year, Derek Stingley went third, then Sauce Gardner went fourth. And typically, if you go back 10 years, you didn't see the cornerbacks going quite that high. With that list that we have here, all those guys, except for maybe Jeffrey Okudah, they meet certain measurements. They're 6 feet plus. They're around 195 plus. They all run 4.4s or faster and have great ball skills. And that showed up repeatedly throughout the season, especially for the Jets and Sauce Gardner. We know that Stingley battled a little bit with injury, but the 2 years before that, J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain, those guys fit the mold, and that's what NFL teams will be looking for this time around, Tommy. And I don't know if it's going to be a sea change. We sort of see, we talk about a copycat league. It's just more of a function of how the quarterback's going to shake out at the top of the draft. And then after that, and the offensive lineman, you'll seem to funnel your way to the cornerback position. And as Rick noted, there are going to be some good cornerbacks in this class. I don't know if they go as high as top 5. That seems a little rich. But there are going to be several guys drafted early on that are going to have a chance to play right away as rookies.
It's just crazy, guys. I always think of the only tall cornerback that was really good, like Antonio Cromartie. Now we're seeing him everywhere. And Sauce Gardner going against Justin Jefferson. And Sauce is taller than Justin Jefferson. And we're starting to see that, especially with this class coming up 6 feet or taller as well. Let's move on to guys like Joey Porter Jr. looking to join an elite list in terms of lineage. So I mentioned it in the tease, what's in a name: Porter, Surtain, Horn, or Samuel. Ryan, I'll go back to you. It's kind of crazy. A, it means we're all getting older, right? But B, what do you make of what we're seeing here with the legendary lineage?
Yeah, I definitely feel old. Luckily, I'm on this podcast with Rick, who makes me feel a little bit younger, so thanks for that, Rick. Got to get my shots in before he starts taking them at me, Tommy. But what does it mean for Joey Porter Jr.? And I know Rick and I agree on this. Joey Porter Jr. has a chance to be the first cornerback off this board, and he does a lot of things well. You see his dad there, who played in those mid-2000s Super Bowl teams. And Joey Porter Jr. is a cornerback, obviously, but he's 6'2", about 195, 200 pounds, and he can cover all day, Tommy. And we'll talk about Keely Ringo in a second, his matchup with Marvin Harrison. When Penn State played Ohio State, what Joey Porter Jr. was able to do against Marvin Harrison Jr. was what very few people have been able to do throughout his career, and that's shut him down as much as you can shut him down. And I think that's going to be the takeaway as we go through this draft process. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the physicality, he has the ability to win at the catch point, and now it's just a matter, and I've talked to Rick about this as well, what do you do with him at the top of the route? Because he can get a little handsy, Rick, and I don't know if that's a concern when he's coming out as NFL teams look at him.
Yeah, no, and if you look at the lineage of all those players and all their dads that were great players in the NFL, it's because these young kids that are coming up have been around the league. So they've probably seen their dad out of practice. They've probably been to NFL games. They've probably been on a football field since they've been able to walk. So a lot of these guys, it's not too big for them. As long as they have the DNA that was passed down, like between me and my brother had to change of direction and went on to go to 4 Pro Bowls. I didn't have any change of direction. I didn't get that DNA, so I end up here on TV. talking with Ryan Wilson on the draft. So, but it's great to see these guys and how they already know what the game is about because of them probably hanging out with their dads in a locker room and being around on a football field. But there's going to be a lot of great corners in this draft. I agree with Ryan. I don't believe any is going to go in the top 5 right now. There'll be a lot of jockeying for position because I see 5 to maybe 6 corners potentially going in the first round.
I'm glad you brought up the number 5, Rick, because we've asked both you and Ryan to kind of give us your top 5 cornerbacks in terms of evaluating it for the 23 draft. Rick, I'll have you start first, and then Ryan, you can follow here. So, Rick, take me through your list of the guys there, and some of them that we've already talked about, of course.
Yeah, we talked about Joey Porter, and I think he's the most polished player right now. But Kelly Ringo is great size. He has what I call big man movement skills, where he needs to be off in coverage. If he doesn't get your hands on you and press, he has a tendency to get a little handsy, and he struggles to stay with receivers out of the break. The other kid I really like is Gonzalez, who transferred from Colorado to Oregon. The biggest knock on him, he has the size, speed, athletic ability, is does he have the ball skills? Because he didn't have the ball skills at Colorado, but you see him here on this clip, and you see it throughout the tape, how improved his ball skills got. So he's going to be a top flight corner as well. And 2 other ones that I really like, Cam Smith at South Carolina and Weatherspoon at Illinois. Both of those guys have, to me, elite cover skills. They're a little on the thinner side, but they're both physical players, and they'll be able to match up in one-on-one situations and in man coverage at the NFL level.
Yeah, I think Rick and I are on the same page. We have the same 5 guys, just in different order at the top there, Tommy. And I'll just focus on Devin Witherspoon, the young man out of Illinois. He's 6 feet, but only 180. And that might be a concern in terms of size when you play against these bigger wide receivers that we talked about earlier in the segment. But as I had a scout tell me, it's not a problem until it's a problem. And it wasn't a problem throughout the season for Devin Witherspoon, who plays much bigger than that size there. But in terms of the rest of this evaluation, as Rick talked about it, I'm pretty much on the same page with him. And I think these guys are going to go off the board anywhere from 12 to 25. And it's just which flavor of ice cream you like as a team selecting where do they want to put these guys. But for me, I love Devin Witherspoon's, the way he plays the game. Despite his size, he plays like he's 200 pounds. And I think he has a chance to be a really good football player at the next level.
Great stuff, guys. Appreciate the time as always. And if you like what you just heard here on CBS Sports HQ, go to the podcast space, and with the first pick, Ryan Wilson and Rick Spielman. Scan that QR code. You'll get dad jokes. You'll get all these other things, including, of course, draft stuff.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.